Mm.
Welcome to Keith and the Girl. I'm Keith Malley.
I'm Chemda.
First of all, I'd like to thank everyone for their sweet Veterans Day mentions that will keep coming all weekend, I have to assume, and it's humbling, but please stop. You're welcome, but that's not why I do it. I have a letter here, Chemda. I want to get right to it. Hello, team Keith and the Girl, says MP Hoskins. I wanted to share my newest tattoo with y'all. This is my first Keith and the Girl tattoo, and I already have plans for more. The pothead design from Newsy's Keith and the Girl History series is the first design to be graffitied on what has now been dubbed KATG Rock. They have a big tattoo of rocks on their arm, and then they're going to add like a graffiti to it. And they did your pothead design.
It's my head in a pot as a potted plant because I'm a pothead. Mm-hmm. And now I'm a pothead influencer. This is the most exciting day of my life.
I'm going to go back in a couple weeks to bold some lines and add some color. I'll be sure to share each edition with you. The tattoo is so freaking cute and is bringing me joy every time I look at it. I love Keith and the Girl and the awesome community that surrounds the show. I'm excited to build this tattoo with images inspired by the best podcast in the world. Aw. Thanks for 17 years of fun, real talk, laughter, tears, sighs, and all the other things that come with emotions, which Keith can now name most of. And yay for the release of the Kickstarter to fund another year of awesomeness. I contributed, and I'm looking forward to December silent trailers and other fun rewards. Already making my guest list. How cute is that?
Paige is the best. Congratulations. It looks really good, too. Yeah. And we're posting it on our social media, of course. So if you're not following us, follow us. Reddit, Twitter, Facebook, all of it.
I love seeing them. What did your brother said something about the Keith and the Girl tattoos in his book, right? Andrew Warner.
Yeah, my brother just put out a book and I started reading it and I didn't realize I was in it. My name is in here. To Chemda of the Keith and the Girl podcast for showing me how powerful podcasts can be by sending me photos of fans with your logo tattooed on them.
Okay, it's sweet that he doesn't want to mention your sister, but it is, I guess the business is more important.
Well, he also says the next line is, to mom and dad, when my grade school teachers complained to you that I was a jack-in-the-box who couldn't sit still in class, instead of telling me that I had to sit down, you asked the teachers if they'd allow me to have a desk in the back of their class so that my occasional need to stand up wouldn't disturb other students. Thanks for always showing me that I don't have to accept the rules. He doesn't know that I'm his sister because we had a totally different upbringing.
You never could have done that. And you're like a year and a half apart.
Yes.
Yeah, you had a whole different family. What's the name of the book?
It's called Stop Asking Questions, which is also funny because I have a question mark tattoo on my arm. We cannot be any different. My whole thing is question everything, but it is actually a really good book. It's about how to ask questions, really, and how to not like berate people with the questions, but instead create a conversation, whether you're doing an interview or in real life.
Well, he's the host of the popular podcast Mixergy, and if you're on his newsletter list, they're pretty provocative titles. So you know he doesn't mean stop asking questions. He tricks you halfway through the book, right? And he probably explains it. His emails are like, "My wife caught me cheating," and I'm like, "What the fuck?" And I scroll down on my intelligence. Here are 5 things to blah blah blah. Like, oh, okay, all right. Last night was very fun. We did the Dad Emails book reading.
Yes.
Just fill people in on the idea of the dad emails, Chemda, if you please.
Well, if you go to keithandthegirl.com/dad, we isolated all the times throughout one single year where Keith was catfishing his dad. And it's the entire saga in order. And Keith is writing a book that includes all of it, basically, for that 1 year. And we, as Keith is writing, we decided to do a reading of it. And we skipped from piece to piece. What people didn't expect is that we had people reading it, like Calvin Cato, Newsy. Keith's brother was playing his dad perfectly. Keith's girlfriend was playing the ex-girlfriend played by Keith originally. It's all very layered, and it was so much fun.
Because Kyle was playing me, playing Kat, Calvin had to play Kyle, even though Kyle was in the room. It was a whole lot of fun. Steph writes, that was above and beyond. I imagine just Keith reading from the new book, not a whole cast acting out all the roles. So if you supported last year's Kickstarter and the dad emails part where you're going to get the book, this was a little surprise that we threw in. Calvin Cato was hilarious as all the different characters he played, complete with hair and outfit changes. We didn't know he had all these, costumes. He's like, well, what if this person, I do this? Yes. Should I wear a wig for? Yes. I was laughing and gasping through the whole thing. I listened to every episode as it came out, but I have not re-listened to everything. It is definitely different to hear it again, knowing how things ultimately unfold. The one that kind of kicked it all off was, quote, I keep secrets very well. That gave me shivers down my spine. Yeah, I started acting like I was my ex-wife. And I said, hey, can you keep a secret? And my dad says, I keep secrets very well. That's how it starts. What a horrible, horrible, horrible person to be willing to betray his son in this way. To have Ken reading the parts of Father Malley was genius. He seems to be able to channel his essence. Careful, Ken. Actually, I can tell in truth, you're nothing like your father. I think something about the dad emails has always made me a little uncomfortable. Yeah, you're a human being.
Yeah. Yeah, it should. Yeah. It's alarming when you're not uncomfortable.
Like maybe it's too mean to have tricked an old man this way. But hearing the origin, right. But hearing the origins again, along with the commentary of everybody last night, I must conclude that Father Malley brought all this on himself. I still feel sorry for him in that larger sense of it's sad that there's a human being that is so mentally ill that he's created his life of complete isolation, but I have no reservations that Keith was not in the wrong to do what he did. In any case, you all brought it last night and always do with everything you do. High quality, amazing entertainment, blah, 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 genuine. Thank you. That is very sweet to see.
The part where this person says we did a good job is blah, blah, blah.
We get it.
Okay.
and thank you.
That's
yeah,
like
on Reddit,
my parents yeah, you're a good kid, but we could always do better. Come on.
You could see some pictures on Reddit that Newsy was taking. Also, if you did subscribe to that thing, to the dad emails reward, and you couldn't make it the other night, we do have the video, and you've already been sent that. So take a look. All right. Let's get to today's guest, shall we? She was just on James Corden last night, Kenda.
Oh, it was so good.
First thing out of her mouth when she gets to the mic, like, oh, here I am. I got lost. So we'll get into everything. All right. Staff writer on Conan for all 10 of those TBS years and a performer, of course. She's been on Jimmy Kimmel Live, Comedy Central, New York Times best-selling author. The new album is called Corset. I'm a big fan. This is her 6th appearance on Keith and the Girl. Laurie Kilmartin.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know this is number 6.
Yes. Hello.
Lucky number 6, or is that number 7?
Well, we'll find out. I'll tell you after. How about that?
All right.
How are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
I'm all right. Thank you. I just found out why everybody's mad at Travis Scott. I'm like, okay, I hear Travis Scott's in the, so I play his music and now I get it. Lock him up. I mean, this is horrible, this music.
I haven't listened.
Come on, Laurie. Where do you think I'm going? All right, we're done with that story now. Okay. Did you see Kyle Rittenhouse is
I can't wait for your Kyle Rittenhouse joke, man. If Travis Scott was your opener, you were saving the good stuff now.
Kyle Rittenhouse, of course, charged with 2 counts of homicide, 1 count of attempted homicide, recklessly endangering the safety and illegal possession of a dangerous weapon by a person under 18. He was 17. He traveled to Wisconsin from Illinois because he felt he had to protect local businesses. He had to. He thought he had to provide medical aid with his AR-15, and of course, shot some people. The big news right now, because how many people really follow this stuff? The videos going around of him crying in the courtroom. Have you seen this?
I've seen comics quote tweeting with their jokes, and that's how I'm receiving all news about this story. So it makes me so angry. I can't really dive into it, but the other thing is what 17-year-old doesn't like to support and protect local businesses? I mean, what were you doing when you were 17? And I grew up in California, but I wanted to protect businesses in nearby Nevada. So I was lucky enough, like Kyle, to get my mother to drive me out there. So I have nothing to say.
What about local businesses, Kyle? I'm like, I got to go with the big fish.
No. At least start local and then get national. Don't go head right to another state. My God.
No, I don't know. I guess you didn't see this, did you, Kenda? The crying?
Well, I saw it on mute. So probably like Laurie, I saw it in my feed and timeline. I just wasn't able to turn on sound when I was coming across it. And I'm like, oh, I got to come back to that, because my first response, and I don't know if it's good or bad, I'm like, come on. That's just my first response.
Right.
But I'm like, let me hold judgment until I actually hear it, listen to it. What's he actually saying? But I'm like,
Here's what he's saying. And I don't live with the kid. I don't know how he cries, but it makes me think of when I watch the Olympics. And I'm like, you both feet didn't land right on the ground. That was a pretty big splash. I'm just telling you, I know what I see and I don't like it.
You deducted points from his performance. You start with a 10 and then you drop.
Yeah. I was never invited to the Rittenhouses, but I don't believe it feels like odd crying to me.
That was my first response to it. And I haven't come back to it yet, but I thought of the different scenarios where one would sob. And this is probably, reasonable, right?
Sure.
But I thought of the ways that I sob, and I have a lot of experience with this.
Yeah.
And I thought, even when I sob heavily, I don't project my face to the back of the room.
there's a moment, and again, I don't know if I'm making it up, but he does, like, on the side, look at the jury, then starts bawling.
Well, you got to know your audience. Now, I have two performers here criticizing a fellow thespian for reaching to the back of the room. I can't believe it.
When it comes to performing, we have it tough enough.
Laurie, please. I tried out for the circus, so I know what projection is. Okay. We wore clown makeup for work for a while. We know what it's like to have a face and really reach that end. I do, especially if you're not used to not only sobbing, but sobbing in public. There's, unfortunately, but there is a shame to it, where you put your head down, you cover your snot, you sort of pause your sobbing. I think if you don't know sobbing, fake sobbing looks exactly like that. Like sobbing is actually deep in you. You're looking towards your chest. You're heaving, but not, I don't know, even the loss of control when you're heaving and sobbing. And like Keith said, I've never seen this person sob. Everyone sobs in different ways. But I don't know. Keith, you recently sobbed for the first time in maybe decades, right? And it came out of nowhere. What did it look like?
I was watching, it was Black Lives Matter, where on every channel it's live. So, nobody can twist what's going on. I'm watching it. I'm watching cops not respecting these cameras. They're giving a fuck. And then it was timed with me listening to Fiona Apple's Kick Me Under the Table All You Want. I won't shut up. I was made to disagree, blah, blah, blah. And I just started bawling between the two things. And I'll tell you what, there were tears. It's odd that Kyle, for all his dad, there's no tears. That's odd.
Yeah. I mean, you should at least, learn from Friends. Joey had a hair plucker, like a tweezer.
Right.
And didn't they a tweezer in your pocket, and then you pull some hair and you cry. And I even think it's hard to cry, even if you're punching yourself in the balls while you're in front of people. That's still, even actors need a Visine if they're going to pretend to cry.
And you kind of most sobbing is you're trying not to sob, and when you really let go, you're alone. It's so, or in the arms of one person. It's so odd that you would go to your core in front of a group of strangers. It's kind of like how in acting class, they tell you if you're playing a drunk person, the drunk people try not to act. They try to seem sober instead of being drunk, So it seems like you'd actually be trying not to cry. And that's
He took a bow, Laurie. That was on to me. You know what?
Well, I joined his Patreon. That's how moved I was.
I wonder if, let's say he gets off, does that hurt his credibility, though, for these right-wing talk shows when it turns out he's a big pussy?
No, I think it gets him more on more shows. I mean, don't you think they're all big pussies, right? Trump
but they don't want to admit
Carlson.
but they don't want to be admitting they cry. Like, did he damage his credibility to be a host?
No, because they all practice saying sorry in different ways, and he just introduced a new method. Like it's not like anything else has been sincere. So I don't know if you found a new way to get out of a speeding ticket, and you don't give a shit what way that is. You would use it.
Is it too late to introduce a crying expert who can explain that when your heaving levels go up, it pushes your tear ducts in such a way that? Well, we can only hope. And then I, and again, this is all shit I'm just making up in my head, but I see a picture in the paper where Kyle is talking to his lawyer. The lawyer's whispering in his ear, and like it's some kind of, like a federal hearing. Kyle knows to put his camera over the microphone.
His hand.
My God.
Yeah, his hand over the microphone. Like, to me, that's somebody that can control yourself a little bit. Like,
yes.
1 second, I cover the microphone when he talks to me. So what was that day like?
Yeah, I mean, he's a horrible child, and it looks like if he's acquitted, then we'll just be shooting each other in the streets, right? I mean, that will be legal now. It's just to shoot people.
Laurie, are you against people's rights? Is that an issue for you? Is it
now you bring it up, I'm for the guns right. Yeah.
There are side effects to everything. Okay, you eat a salad, I bet there's a side effect.
So you're calling death a side effect?
All right. They asked Kyle what he was doing out on the streets with his gun. He's like, I don't know what you can say nowadays. And the jury was like, I understand it is tough. Okay. All right. Free to go, I think. You've heard the saying, let's go Brandon. We talked about fairly recently. It was said at NASCAR. It was said, "Fuck Joe Biden," and a news reporter said, "They're saying let's go Brandon." One of the people driving one of the stupid cars. And you think calling them stupid cars would have got people upset? But anyway, what do you do if your kid's name is Brandon and like they score a goal in sports?
Oh my gosh! Well, I mean, I have no sympathy for Brandon parents because I feel like that name was already on the track to being bad about 10 years ago, right? It's definitely a name of a football player bully, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think if you were recently naming your child Brandon, you were actually pushing him in that direction, and you get what you deserve. That's what I think.
All right. Sounds good.
I fact checked that, and that is, all across the board. Mm-hmm. Brandons are assholes. I do think that you can combat that. Let's say you do have the Brandon that is doing all right, raising them well, doing the right thing. I think, Brandon, it's time for a nickname. How about Den? Let's go Den. Huh?
Well, how about Brando?
If you could turn Richard into Dick, you could turn Brandon into something cute. Okay.
Never been able to turn Richards into Dicks. Is there a formula? Yeah.
And by the way, speaking of things you can't say anymore, I don't know if you could call your kid Duh. You can't be saying that now. Come on, stop.
Always check for rhymes.
You know what? Den seems like an Aiden nickname. I've heard that a lot. I don't know if I think the Aiden moms who are violent will be angry if a Brandon mom would take her nickname. That's what I think.
I was going to say, speaking of raising kids, in Corset, you talk about your kid a lot, which is fantastic. I like knowing the ins and outs, whether it's real or not. You mentioned that you tried mushrooms fairly recently for the first time. And, you said, just because I'm trying to lose custody of my son. Did you really try mushrooms recently for the first time?
Well, listen, I tried pot, but that didn't seem to impress the audience whatsoever.
Everyone's doing that, right?
Yes. For me, that was a big deal. So I changed it to mushrooms. Now I plan on trying mushrooms at a later date in my life.
You have it on the calendar?
I just want to pay off a little bit more of my mortgage just in case it sends me into a crazy place.
I think you're already in that place.
So how was weed for the first time?
It was quite debilitating. I think I ate several gummies when I was supposed to have a portion of one.
Just the head.
Right. Something like that. Something like that. When I later told people how much I had, they were pretty shocked. And
that was your first time you're just eating edibles like it's candy?
Well, they taste good.
Candy. Oh, it good.
So I did a podcast that I don't recall. And then I did a set that I don't recall. I mean, I remember kind of visually being in it, like I didn't black out, but I couldn't, I couldn't control what my mouth was saying. I was hoping it was going okay.
And you've been a comic.
I don't know how people perform like that. It's ridiculous.
You've been a comic for how many years?
20 or 30, 34 years, maybe.
34 years. What are you going to do? Respect every audience? Fuck them. You're on edibles now. Okay. All right.
Look, I'm past my prime. And if you missed it, that's on you.
You mentioned how you had, you were with is your son 8 years old?
He is now
14.
14. Well, he just turned 15.
15. Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So how many sons do you have? I don't know if you can even keep track because you talked about it. Well, you talked about an 8-year-old.
Well, some of the material was written when the material was written as at that age. I'm sort of, each chunk is tracking him at certain ages.
No, that's sweet. You like all the shit talking you do. You're going to go, here's your album. And then he thinks a photo album. It's like, no, there's a chunk on each of your major. So 8 years old, you talk about masturbation talk. It's an audio album. It's better than a photo album.
These are your memories, son. I hope you're okay with it.
And you
I have no photographs of you.
You said that when he said it's all photographs of you on stage. This is when I talked about you masturbating. Laurie said that like 8 years old was the masturbation talk. And then she jokes, the talk is don't knock on my door when I'm masturbating. I have my own juice box. Yeah. Did you ever really have to have
it's a little better. I think I told it a little bit better, but thank you for that summary, that inartful summary, leaving out key phrases.
When you hear a song and then you hear the remake, which one's probably better, Laurie?
Oh man. Are you Lil Nas?
The source is more important. I'm saying the source is more important. I'm just saying. Please leave my man alone. Did you ever have a masturbation talk with your son? Have you really done that?
No, I left that one up to his dad and teachers.
Okay, so he doesn't know anything.
He knows what's to know. Yeah, exactly. And he's, he's part of pop culture. He watches things that we all watch. Right. So I'm sure he knows. And I know they teach it in health. That's.
I say what's to know, but Keith, you actually didn't know. I just don't know if people can pass over that information anymore, but I'm not sure. And maybe I am asking, what is there to know? What didn't you know about masturbation, Keith Manley?
I just didn't know about it. I don't know what to tell you. I didn't masturbate till I was 18, Laurie. I knew nothing about it.
To me, if that's the way my son goes, that's fine with me.
What? Why?
Yes.
To clean up the house less. What do you mean? Why? She's just
What do you mean? Do you think I want to live with a masturbating person? I don't.
Oh, the logistics. Okay. I didn't think about sharing bathrooms and things like that. I just feel like people are more clear-minded when they're clear.
I don't even like the word logistics. No, don't do that in my house.
But also the tension of being unclear, can lead to some, great art, in my opinion, right?
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Instead of making the art like on your stomach, you catfish your dad for a year as a grown adult. Yeah. It comes out one way or the other.
Exactly.
You talk about how you would fuck on a first date because your babysitter's $16.50 an hour, for God's sakes. Right. My girlfriend has 3 kids, and I recommend. I mean, other than the problem of the kids, I recommend dating a single mom. Of course, they fuck on the first date because babysitting's so expensive. They're not going to waste their time. Kyle, my girlfriend, doesn't doesn't sweat the small stuff because you don't have the time. You're dealing with a whole food fell on the floor when I first started dating her, and I'm like, oh shit, sorry about that. And she picked it off the floor and ate it. She's like, I'm just happy to eat. So yes, I recommend you find a single mom, guys, if you can, because they know there's real problems out there, and your silly shit they kind of let go. Yeah,
I agree. And a lot of single moms don't want to marry. You don't want to bring some, potential freak into the family. They just want you compartmentalize your life. You're a mom, you got to work, and then you have a little bit left over for the sweet Richard.
I love what she would introduce these guys to her kid and be like, oh, this is your uncle. But then she's got to break the news when the uncle, quote, dies. Oh, another uncle. She said one summer was so bad, 11 uncles died and 2 aunts.
Why are you doing my album to me? Why do I have to hear these jokes again, but paraphrased?
Because they're so good. And then if you want to hear it done the right way, you hear Laurie do it. On the preview.
This is truly hell. I'd rather talk about Rittenhouse again.
Other people died too, though, but you got to get Laurie's album to find out.
Yeah, the tags are leave the tags alone, at least, so that they have some surprises if they download Corset.
He's paraphrased things that I say on the episode right before. And I'm like, God damn, that sounds different coming out of your face.
You're like, is that how you heard it? Because
I thought I made a point, but fuck, I should shut up more often.
So Laurie's masturbating her son, right?
Oh my God. Oh my God.
I was watching TV when I listened. Maybe I missed something, but no, the album's fantastic. If I may mention this, please. StoryWorth. StoryWorth is an online service that helps you and your loved ones preserve precious memories and stories for years to come.
I do that with my jokes. I don't think, what else could you do?
Well, other people aren't writing things down because they don't know how to start and finish. That's a hard part about being a writer and being a comic. Mm-hmm. So these are sort of prompts to help you. And I used this when Xerxes and I were first dating. We would answer the questions, and now we have sort of like a I don't want to call it a manual. It's just a really sweet story of your life. Like, oh, neat. What was this like in high school? And you get one question, and then you answer that question that goes into the book. You can drag a picture right into it if it's associated with it. And it's something that you can do with maybe older people in your family also. Like, if you're lucky enough to have a parent or a grandparent that you can call and ask them one of these questions every week, they have something to jump off to, and you can write it down, and you're creating a book of the history of your family, of yourself, of whoever.
Thank you for, no, I mean, I appreciate this ad airing after both my parents died. Thank you.
You know what? Believe me, you're lucky. I don't know if you heard about my dad. StoryWorth emails your relative or friend a thought-provoking question of your choice from the vast pool of possible questions. Each unique prompt asks questions you've never thought to ask, like, what's your name? Dad, where am I from? What's the bravest thing you've ever done, as an example? If you could see into the future, what would you want to find out? And like Kenta said, they make a beautiful keepsake. With StoryWorth, I'm able to give those I love a most thoughtful, personal gift from the heart, and preserving their memories and thoughts and stories for years to come. Go to StoryWorth, WORTH.com/KATG. Save $10 off your first purchase. That's StoryWorth.com/KATG to save $10 off your first purchase.
I would have loved if one of my parents did this, if they filled it out just nice and slow and told me about themselves. They feel very uncomfortable talking about their lives in general. And this doesn't get too personal, but gives you information about your family that maybe they would otherwise not even know to bring up. And I really like how they lay it out.
That's cool.
By the way, speaking of your parents, Laurie, your mom passed away from COVID-19. When you see news, when you see things in the paper. Like I just came across another one of these stories. Anti-vaccine doctor who called masquering dangerous just died of COVID-19. Does anything go through your head? Are you completely numb? Or you put your hands up and say yay? Yeah.
I celebrate.
Like, good.
I celebrate anti-vaxxers dying of COVID because they're usually when someone's an anti-vaxxer, that means they're giving out incorrect information and they're influencing other people, right? So
Yep.
Either they're very loud on Facebook or they're pastors or frequently pastors, this guy, doctor, whatever. So good. I'm glad they're dead. Not only are they gone, but there's less of an opportunity for them to influence somebody. And I don't celebrate when someone just didn't get the vaccine because they were scared. And I think a lot of people are like that right now. They're just scared. And so I don't celebrate those deaths, but I love it. The flat earther died of COVID. I mean, he's Canadian, so that lessened my joy just a little bit. I love it. Love it when it's American. Yeah.
Yeah. I get you. Yeah. I think I feel the exact same way.
Yeah.
I feel the exact. Yeah. You're a doctor, for God's sakes. Boy.
Yeah.
Did you hear about there's a University of Austin. They're starting a University of Austin that's called an alternative college.
Right. With they don't give out degrees even.
It's probably, I assume it wouldn't be credited, right? A slew of conservative thinkers and media personalities have signed on to the creation of a new alternative university in Austin, Texas. I do wish I had an alternative high school where I could.
Is this alternative?
I got horrible grades.
Is this alternative like creative or alternative to the truth?
Alternative to the truth.
I think Janine Garofalo started it. It's an alternative university to comedy.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
It's not. Sorry. I'd like to recall that riff if that's possible.
I'm going to assume it's more everybody that wants her dead. Let's see. Yeah. So
seriously.
Yeah, it's going to be alternative facts.
Well, and it's started by Bari Weiss, who is this awful op-ed writer, and then the list of other people writing and participating is just like it's everyone that's annoying on Twitter and trends for a bad op-ed like once a month.
Right. Do you get when you see that there's so much craziness out there? Does it affect how you raise your son? Do you ever find yourself like shoving him in front of a TV and going, no, almost like a dog? No. See what's on TV? No. Like, do you smush his head into the TV? I don't know. I don't understand parenting, but you see such stupidity and you want to make sure it doesn't get in his head because anything goes nowadays.
I know. I guess, no, I don't worry about them as much as I do climate change. I think that's really on his kids just constantly on their minds. Like they assume everything's just going to get more and more awful. And they're right.
Right. Does he ever come back with bad grades? Like, who cares, Mom? Pick up a fucking paper.
No one under the age of 35 says pick up a paper, but
oh, okay,
yeah,
I see. Pick up a phone. Sorry. Pick up a phone.
Open an app. Mom,
read a phone much? Jeez.
His grades aren't good, and they continue to not be good. And I don't. He's smart. I have a joke about that he has ADHD.
None of my business. Stop it. No. I don't even want people guessing that the joke. You buy the album Corset. Okay.
Thank you.
ADHD. Okay, you have this to look forward to. ADHD. Cool. Something about grades. That's a hint. You're not going to be able to make it up the way she did it. It's in the album. Mind your fucking business. All right. We took care of that. That was
now we're talking. Yeah. You were tempted. I appreciate not only did you restrain yourself, you attacked yourself.
Yes.
I feel like that warning was to Keith only, and you heeded your own warning. So that was nice.
It's whoever needs to hear it, but no joy here. Okay. What were you? What did happen when you came out for James Corden and you got lost for a second? Was that? Did I think read too much into that?
You did because I thought the curtain was going to open, and then still don't remember. And then I thought, I'm supposed to open it. And then it kind of did open, or anyway, it was a little weird. So that's all. I wasn't sure. I'm so used to Conan. They had someone right there that would pull it back, and someone was like a little bit further away. They just do it differently there, like the way the curtain is. So that's all.
But Keith is asking because he genuinely would be nervous about getting lost from backstage.
I really would. I'd somehow be behind Corden's desk and not know how I got there. And everybody would think I'm an asshole.
Yeah, because I went out very early for the sound check, and I kind of figured out the band was to my right and the audience is here. And I didn't actually look at the desk. So I was like, when I was out there, and I didn't want to start looking around for Corden. So I just didn't until I heard a noise over there, like a laugh. And then I looked and I was like, oh, that's where they are. Which I should have known right off the bat. But there's a lot going on.
I'm going to say this and not more than that. Great World War II jokes. I'm just going to leave it there.
Thank you.
I'm just going to leave it there.
Thank you.
And you got to go and see that.
There's some little account tweeted and they go boomer humor. And then I started arguing with this account, and they keep sounding like my son. That's just little comments my son would make, And so then I quote tweeted going, is this my son's burner account?
What did you have more fun doing? Going after these people, knowing you did have a good set, or the actual set?
Oh,
what was more enjoyable?
Gosh, the set was
a good
enjoyable.
Night, right?
It was a good night, but I love when there's negative comments that are just someone's emotion. You know what I mean? If someone has a good point, I skip it. Right? I don't need to.
Right.
I don't need to admit when I'm wrong, please. But if it's, it's just mean or not funny, then I love to argue. I don't know why, but it's fun.
I did see one, I forget what it was, but somebody just gave some opinion on something. And Laurie's like, can I just talk about my big night?
Oh yeah. So Corden, they took out one of my jokes and tweeted it, just one joke. And so this guy commented about Andrew Garfield. Like, I guess something's unhappening with Andrew Garfield because he was one of the other guests. Okay. As a reply to my joke. So I just said, hey, can I just have this space by myself, please, without you complaining about Andrew Garfield, who gets enough press.
I heard on SNL that backstage before these celebrities come out to introduce stuff, there's a vomit bucket because people get so nervous. Have you ever heard of this in talk shows?
I haven't.
Okay.
Wow.
Have you ever wanted to vomit? I go the other way. If I'm nervous, I need to go to the toilet. It comes out the other way. But
I went to the bathroom a lot, and I had a trial run at the house going to the bathroom because I was wearing like one of those things, like a Spanx, like knees to shoulders. Right. So, and it had a pee hole. And I peed in. When I peed, of course, it got on part of the thing, right?
Of course.
So I quickly washed it and blow to dry that area, and then I brought it to Corden. And then when I had to pee, I took the whole thing off and just ignored the pee hole. Pee holes are, I don't know, maybe for men they work, and maybe the penis, you could argue, has its own pee hole, but for women,
some would.
and an item of clothing with a pee hole, it's just, they don't line up with yours, and we don't have those walls to actually guide anything, so it will go everywhere.
Yeah, I think pee holes are just for penis havers,
right?
Yeah. I think like anytime we try to aim, it gets worse.
Right. I agree. So so that happens. Now a vomit bucket back in the old days when I was bulimic would have been amazing. Right? Like when I was a teenager.
How good were you at being bulimic? Because there are
not
people
good.
Who, no. Okay.
There are people that are really good. There are, I had to take Epicac to induce vomiting. So I actually wasn't always bulimicking, I guess, because it was a lot of work. Like I had to go. Is that
a violent?
Yeah, it's something like if you take poison, it makes you hurl, and it's the grossest tasting thing you've ever put in your mouth. And
it looks like what Kyle Rittenhouse
fucked a lot
doing.
of guys.
Hello. Hello. We heard you, Laurie. You fucked a lot of guys. That was based on she had other bad things in her mouth, she said.
It had to compete with a Rittenhouse riff, and I wished it luck as it flew out of my mouth. I'm like, he's going Kyle. I see it.
I'm not going to say what it's about, but in the album, you talk about circumcision. Okay. That's everybody's, that's all the business people need to hear right now.
Yes.
But I didn't know. Now I'm curious. Did you get your son circumcised?
Well, I kind of left it vague in the on the album, and I like to keep it that way. Okay.
Oh, I see. Okay. All right. I love knowing everybody's business. I want to know what everybody's doing. I want to know what they fuck, what they eat, what they do for a living.
I want to know what their minor children's penises look like. I gotta know it all.
It tells me something about the Kilmartins, you know? Well, here's what you want to do. I
think Keith says your last name like there actually is murder in it. You know,
it's something in those eyes.
I like it. Yeah. I like
it. Go to Laurie Kilmartin and .com.
Martin, yeah, that's right, in French.
And you definitely want to download the album Corset. Now, what's on it? Is it comedy? Is it music? Is it spoken word? No one knows. But you're going to listen to it and things are going to happen to you that are more enjoyable than not.
Not to be sincere, because I know that makes you uncomfortable, but you are such a fucking pro. Like I love watching comics like that where you are just, I know that you might not be relaxed on the inside, but your words are just timed beautifully. You're telling us the story, and I'm always laughing out loud when I see your stand-up. So fucking good. Now, grab the vomit bucket. Go ahead and then tell us your point.
No, I was. Thank you very much. And when I am not this, I check iTunes because they have a charts. You know, they have a comedy, best-selling comedy stuff, right? And it would appear that the only people buying comedy albums are like 55-year-old white men, right? There's hardly any non-white people on the top, and most of them are guys, and most of them are old albums from like 2009 and 2002.
Jim Gaffigan.
Early Gaffigan, very early Dane Cook. So it's almost like guys that are remembering their childhood and downloading an album that they listened to when they were teenagers, you know?
Right.
So that's mostly, and then I pop in every once in a while, but for a while it was me and this other woman. We were the only other woman. She's also white. And she's sitting on the toilet. That's her album cover. And her name is Wendy Ho. And her album was called Greatest Shits. And I haven't downloaded it, but I have to tell you, I feel an affinity for her because that lady knows how to title an album.
Can I tell you a secret?
Let me tell you something. Yeah.
She lets me talk all about her album. One show, I just read her whole album.
I think it's songs. It might be music.
Yeah. Well, I read them to tease, and then people are like, "I want to hear this in song form. It sounds rhymey, you know." And then it's a hit. Just saying, but you know what you're doing. Laurie, thank you so much for your time. It's good to see you again. Yeah, I'll say this again. The album is great. Download Corset, and you will enjoy it very much.
Thank you very much. Thanks to both of you. I had a great time.
Bless you.
KeithAndTheGirl.com